You are listening to the Savage FINcast, episode 21, Severe Tooth Pain.
Chicago. A criminal mastermind called Overlord held our city in his terrifying grip. Ordinary cops were losing the battle against Overlord's super freaks and mutants. Then, a miracle happened. When I found him, he had no memory of his past. I helped him find an identity and a life. Now we have a fighting chance. Now we have the dragon.
This is the Savage FINcast, coming at you again with a brand new episode. I am Jim Purcell.
I'm Craig Olson.
And with you as always, Raven Perez.
Except for all the times you aren't with us.
That's right.
Hey, we're illegal now.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah, episode 21. We can go to war. Or, wait, we could have done that a while ago.
We could have
Drunk
died
now.
3 episodes ago, but now, you know. I don't know what. Now, drinking. Yeah, it's like, when are you legal? What are we legal for?
We're getting close to 2 years. It's actually going by pretty fast.
Yeah, probably be episode 24 here come November, and that'll be our 2-year mark. So.
Yeah.
God.
Pretty cool.
We're keeping up with, Erik Larsen, who's been a machine this year.
We're getting in our monthly podcasts on a good clip, so I'm pretty happy about it.
Yeah.
Pretty soon we're going to be able to be snobby about it, don't you think? Like, we'll get to be jerks.
I thought you were already kind of snobby about it.
I do. I use it to get into the comic store. Like, yeah. Oh, out of the way, rough. You're trash.
Oh, my God.
I'm a podcaster.
FINcast, you've heard of it?
Maybe you know Craig Olson, Jim Purcell. You wouldn't.
What is that? The millionaire from Gilligan's Island?
Love it.
Thurston Howell?
Thurston.
Isn't it Thurston Howell?
It is Thurston. Mr. Magoo. Was he Mr. Magoo? I don't know. Point is that I am snobby about being on a podcast, and it's only going to get worse.
Throw it in everyone's face.
I do. Are you in a podcast? I'm on the internet.
Hundreds of views.
Just last month, 15 people listened to our podcast.
They don't let just anyone upload a podcast.
So, you should probably get into Erik Larsen news.
Yes.
First bit of news, the Jack Kirby Museum exclusive piece that we talked about a couple of episodes ago is now for public sale online. Back in episode 18, we told you all about an exclusive Savage Dragon print that Erik was selling at the Calgary Comics Expo back in April in order to raise funds for the Jack Kirby Museum. Erik was selling an exclusive Savage Dragon print, which was limited to 250 copies, featuring Dragon and Malcolm in a Jack Kirby homage based on Captain America. There were leftover prints, and the remaining prints are now available for sale online at the Jack Kirby Museum website, which you can find at kirbymuseum.org/shop. The prints are $25 a piece plus 5 shipping.
And they're freaking sweet.
Do you have one?
Nope, but I sure do think they're sweet.
But I wish I did.
I do wish I did. Oh, Lord.
No, it was pretty
That's
cool.
pretty cool that they're available, though.
Yeah.
I know I've seen a few people that were like bummed out that they couldn't make it to the Calgary Expo, and now that it's available online, anyone can get it. So
I'm sure Gavin threw all his money at the computer screen when he saw the news.
The euro crashed.
So yeah,
I'm sure Gavin has the original art.
yeah,
now.
he probably does.
And for those who don't know who we're talking about, Gavin Higginbotham, the editor of
First time listeners.
Savage Dragon now, who has a bajillion pieces of original art that we're all very jealous of when it comes to Savage Dragon. So what's that?
I said I'm green with jealous rage.
I'm okay with it.
Have you seen that? Have you seen his Facebook page? He just spreads it all around, gets everyone jealous about it.
Rubs it all
rubs it in our
body
face
at night.
Like if Facebook had a begrudging like, I would click that.
Look, I have every original piece of artwork Frank Fosco ever drew.
And you don't.
Frank Fosco's chained up in Gavin's closet.
Exactly. Hey, Gavin,
more pages.
Shut up, you.
All right, moving on. Next bit of news. Erik Larsen was interviewed on the Stuff Said podcast. Last month, Erik Larsen was Greg Schiegel's, I think I'm hopefully not murdering his last name, Greg Schiegel's podcast, Stuff Said, which the two sat together for like a 2-hour conversation. They covered all the bases from Erik's early years to his fan base, his reputation as being a, quote, troublemaker, experimentation in Savage Dragon, and much more. It was a really entertaining listen. I enjoyed it. And when you listen to it, you can tell the two are having a lot of fun with it. I think Greg actually went to Erik Larsen's house. I think that's what they said in the interview. And so it was kind of like a relaxed atmosphere, and they're just kind of...
Much more professional operation.
Yeah. I mean, they're all mic'd up with, I imagine, and, they're all talking in person. But it was really entertaining. If you like podcasts, which you probably do if you're listening to our podcast, you're going to want to check it out. It's you can download it at the stuffsaidshow.com. But check it out. It's a lot of fun.
Sweet.
Did you guys listen to it at all?
I have not listened to it.
I need to. I've seen it, but I don't.
Anytime Erik's on a podcast, it's interesting stuff. I mean, the guy's just blunt and funny, and it's just. I mean, if you guys have listened to, not talking to you, but the listeners, if you've listened to Erik on our show, it's always a good time when he comes on.
He'll break into spontaneous Shakespearean verse. You never know what that guy's going to do. With a hither. Moving right along, covers and solicitations were released for Savage Dragon 193. The images and covers for 193 display the bold new logo. It's got Malcolm in the spotlight with the caption, "First issue in a bold new direction." There's also, now that cover looks really sweet in and of itself. You've got Malcolm in the foreground, Dragon in the background. It's a changing of the guard kind of style. But there's also going to be an excellent variant cover. It's got Malcolm in a cover jam between Image founding fathers, Erik Larsen, and Spawn's Todd McFarlane. So that is absolutely sick to death. I'm going to get both probably. What about you cats?
Oh, of course, without a doubt.
I'm pretty sure digital will only give me one option.
Oh, it's... No.
Maybe I should talk Erik to putting it on the back cover.
Hey, now there's an idea.
That would be ridiculous if they came out like with 2 covers digitally.
Yeah.
And someone bought that.
See, in a perfect world, you just get both covers, and then the rest of it. But it gets dicey, and I don't think I've seen any variant covers with Savage Dragon.
Has there ever been like digital comics sold with variant covers?
I honestly don't know. I can't say. I know I haven't seen any with the ones I've purchased. Typically, if there are variant covers, the common ones and not the exclusive ones are like bundled together. So you see the main cover, and then you switch it for like the B cover, and then the comic starts. But they like that. I haven't ever seen 2 same comics with 2 different covers. I've never seen
it.
It
just doesn't seem like it would make sense.
They'll sell anything to anyone, so I wouldn't put it past somebody to try.
The solicitation on 193
Here we go.
Go,
Here we go.
go
Wait,
Raven,
wait.
go.
I need my popcorn. I need my popcorn.
Get ready, summer movie time. A new beginning. It's the ultimate jump-on point for new readers, and a bold new beginning as Malcolm Dragon takes over the title role from his famous father. Malcolm Dragon's not your typical teenager. He lives in an apartment by himself in downtown Chicago. He's a junior who just transferred to a new high school, and he's trying his best to fill the shoes of his father, the Savage Dragon, fighting the forces of evil in the Windy City. New dangers, new adventures. Get in on the ground level of a whole new Savage Dragon.
Watch those hard P's there, Raven.
Oh,
Wow, I think you just blew out your microphone in my ears.
Oh, sorry, guys. You know,
But it was awesome.
Yeah.
I enjoyed every bit of it.
Round of
hard
applause.
P has always hard P's always been a problem for me. You ought to see the toilets in my house.
Wah, wah.
Come on, guys.
I love how you crack yourself up.
Come on, guys. Jeez, you're killing me. You're killing me here. Come on.
You know, I didn't read this very carefully last time, but I hadn't noticed that it mentions he's transferring high schools.
Mhm.
Interesting twist.
That's right.
Yeah, I wonder what that's about.
I wonder what that means for Maxine.
Well, isn't she already in college?
Yeah.
Wait, I thought she was younger than him.
Nope, because it's
No,
she had a
she's older.
job, and she had that job at Hot Dog and a Stick,
Oh, right. Okay, so she's older than he is.
and her friends
Yeah.
were teasing her. Remember?
Oh, yeah. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Guess that answers that question. So, yeah, big, exciting anticipation.
It is awesome.
I'm not super sold on the logo yet.
You will be.
Oh, will I?
You will. You see anything long enough, you're gonna.
It seems a
grow
little
like
bit. I'm looking at the logo. It seems a little bit different than some of the preview ones he gave. I for some reason I thought like the Savage was smaller than the Dragon, and now
Mhm.
it's all like uniformly the same size.
Yeah, it always was.
Was it? Okay, I guess I was just
Yeah.
making stuff up. But I don't know. There's something. I don't know. There's something just still a little something a little flat about it. We'll see.
I still like the original one better, but it's hard to top it.
Right.
You know. I think it's cool though. I think, like I said in another episode of our podcast, it's just kind of neat that Savage Dragon's at that stage where it's getting a different logo. You know, all the long-running comics have go through one or two different logo changes, sometimes more. So it just makes sense that at some point, even for a little while, Savage Dragon gets a different logo.
Yeah. It seems that Eric's taking a page out of the Robert Kirkman playbook and putting a big number 1 on the cover.
Mhm.
Yeah, which is awesome. I hope it kind of gets some new people to try it out. And I hope that, he gets a good push for this. I hope he gets, some good articles and maybe previews will spotlight it or something. But it would be nice to get, like, some publicity for this.
It is. I think it's awesome just because even like I'm glad you mentioned the Invincible cover, Jim, because like I'm the only comic reader in my house, but when my girlfriend saw that new number 1 in a new direction or whatever on the Invincible thing,
Issue 101.
yeah, well she
Yeah.
picked it up and she read it, so it was kind of like that stuff works
Yeah, definitely.
because she thought she was getting in on the ground floor or something. So, fool.
It does seem like a more efficient way to soft launch your book than having to actually give it an actual number 1 that you're just going to get rid of in a few issues anyway. Like Marvel
Right.
does historically.
I mean, we're over the new number 1, but it does help like readers to get excited. I mean, people see that stuff and, cover number is an intimidating thing. If they see that bold number 1 or whatever, sometimes they glaze over the smaller real number and they, jump on in. So I hope-
193rd issue of A Bold New Direction.
Exactly.
The 193rd first issue.
Exactly. Oh, God. It's exciting. I'm excited.
Yeah. So it's interesting. The final cover for 193 rolled out, and a few days later they rolled out the cover for 194. What do we got here? He posted it up on his Twitter account. Larsen's caption on the photo stated, "I just got this in. I couldn't not share this." Good double negative there, Erik. The cover to Savage Dragon 194. So Erik also posted the cover to his Facebook page, where one fan inquired about his idea for the villain's look on the cover. And Erik stated, "This one is a spin on the old devil on one shoulder, angel on the other motif. He's tormented by the two voices in his head, pulling him in opposite directions." And for those at home, the cover's got basically it's like a big demon-looking guy using Malcolm as a club, and the guy's got like two horns on his head, except for the two horns are like two faces. And
Yeah, one half of his body's red, one half of it's white.
Right.
So it's like I imagine it's good and evil on each side of him with the two heads. He got two small heads popping out of his forehead like horns. So I imagine they're kind of bickering back and forth or something, driving this guy crazy. I don't know.
He looks awesome.
Certainly an interesting design, and I could have sworn I've seen this guy before. And others have posted images of like similar looking guys with like this one ugly looking guy with like nubs on his head with faces. But I could have swore this specific guy, but apparently not.
Yeah, that character is called Mr. Faces. He's a vicious circle character, and he's got almost kind of like the same kind of horns on his head that have faces, but it's not the same character.
I just could have swore there was like a background character in Godtown or something that looked like this guy, but
No, probably. It could be. But I think Erik posted that he's a new character.
Yeah, that's the
on
thing.
Facebook.
Erik said he's brand new, and so I mean one of the faces looks like Mr. Glum. I could just be confusing like Hercules kneecaps.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. The best thing I think about that cover, I mean, the villain looks great, but the whole scene on the cover, it looks like a Jack Kirby type scene. I mean, they got this villain that's swinging Malcolm around by his leg, and they're up like, 20 stories high or whatever on this side of a building, and just like you just see, the people down below looking up at him. It's, the whole cityscape is pretty amazing on this cover. It's probably, I feel like I say this a lot lately, but this is an awesome cover and right up there with one of my favorite covers so far I've seen. I mean, the side of the building's all blown apart. It just looks neat. You really got to see it.
The color experiment is in full effect, and it's really working good here.
Right, with the solid background color and the detailed foreground.
Mm-hmm. It looks really makes like Malcolm and that new logo and the villain just pop.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, this is going to be the second issue that the new logo appears on, and the new logo is like almost completely covered by the image. Like when you look at it, like Malcolm's like getting swung in front of the logo, and you can barely even see it. So, I mean, you'll know it's Savage Dragon because Malcolm's like all over the front cover, but it is pretty funny that it's completely covered pretty much.
So yeah, that should be a pretty cool issue. If it's half as cool as the cover.
Yeah, and it's like, it's cool because it's like new direction. We're seeing a brand new villain right off the bat. It's something to look forward to. I'm looking forward to like Erik introducing a whole bunch of new guys.
Yeah, it's been kind of the he pulled a Spider-Man for a little bit where, I mean, Lord knows we can't accuse the man of not making new characters. He's got 50 billion. But I mean, the classics like Mako and all those dudes, they really were the definitive like dragon villains, and it's going to be cool to see Malcolm, get his own rogues gallery.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do really hope to see more of that, more characters that are Malcolm, specific, centric.
Yeah.
We'll see where that goes.
Yeah. So I think that's it for our news. Had a lot of news this month, which is cool.
It's always good to have.
Yeah.
All the news is good news, or however that saying goes.
That's sort of like it.
Moving on, then I guess let's get into our trivia question segment.
Where Craig will sing the intro. Take it away, Craig.
Oh, sorry. I don't know.
I
forgot the song.
thought you
Should
made
I
a
sing
jingle.
Should I sing the Savage Dragon theme? How does it go?
I don't know. You know what's so funny? The theme doesn't have words. It's just that spoken word intro.
It's just Frank kind of talking over it.
And then there's
Exactly.
lots and
Chicago.
lots of synthesizer.
Chicago, the vicious circle. Bum, bum, bum. Sorry. All right, we're gonna move forward now.
Right.
All right. No one wants to hear me sing. Let's be honest. Probably no one wants to hear me talk either, but I'm going to anyway. What's that?
Don't be so hard on yourself.
Last episode's question was Erik Larsen drew Spider-Man and Marvel's Daredevil side by side in 2 books. Name them. Did you guys know this at all? Before the questions came in?
Nope, not Abby.
Could not even Google it.
Let's see. We got two answers. We got 2 letters in. So we got, let's see. Guy LeMay, he wrote in, "Hello, FINcast. Okay, this one took me a while to figure out. I had Amazing Spider-Man 287 right off the bat because I love that issue, but I couldn't remember where else Larsen drew Spider-Man and Daredevil together. But after a look back through some old issues, I found it. It's Amazing Spider-Man 350. He goes on to say, have a good one, and I'll keep listening as long as you don't make us count all the Hidden John days.
Ooh. I mean, yeah.
So he's absolutely right. Those are the 2 things that I had, 2 issues I had in mind. Spider-Man 287 and Spider-Man 350. 287 was an actual story with Daredevil and Spider-Man, and Amazing Spider-Man 350 was actually those two were featured together in a pinup in the back. So it was kind of a little bit of a trick question because they weren't both complete stories, but that was it. Our second letter came from Michel Fife, who is, friend of the show. He went on to say, number 1, Erik's first pro crack at Webhead, which was Amazing Spider-Man 287 black costume version. So he got that, and then he got the pinup in Amazing Spider-Man 350. And then he goes on to say, the third guest doesn't have them technically next to one another, but they're in the same, quote, room. And he goes on to name the cover of Marvel Comics Presents number 50. And he says Daredevil's next to the lower corner box with a red stripe over the small crappy version. Another great episode, keeps me going when I need to sit and ink another page. And we know that he's hard at work on his Copra create-our-own comic, which is pretty damn awesome. And he's right about the cover of Marvel Comics Presents. I wasn't even thinking about that. You guys remember what that cover looks like?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it's like a bunch of inked drawings, and the ones that appear in the issue are colored.
Yeah, and everything else is,
Yeah. It's like all red lines, right?
I think is it blue or red? I don't remember.
I don't know.
But I had one of my best friends growing up had the poster version of that cover, of that wraparound cover. It was a wraparound cover for Marvel Comics Presents 50.
Yes.
And like you said, Jim, it was like, Marvel, for those who might be too young to remember, Marvel Comics Presents always had like 3 or 4 different stories featuring different characters by like up-and-comers. And this cover had just like a whole slew of Marvel characters, like it was like a Marvel Universe cover.
I want to say it was
cover.
every character that had headlined a story up to that point.
Yeah, I think you might be right. And the guys that were actually in that issue were colored, and I think the rest of the guys were like blue lined or something like that. I don't remember completely. But moving on, my really good friend had the poster of this, and we used to just sit when I went to his house. I used to just stare at that thing and just be like, oh, I just wanted that poster so bad. It was so awesome, and the poster, everything was fully colored. So
Really?
It was just so neat, and it was just cool to see Erik's version of all these like characters. I mean, don't forget, probably when that came out, he was doing Marvel Comics Presents, and then he moved on to Amazing Spider-Man. So you didn't see him draw all these characters. It was mostly like Spider-Man and his villains. So to see a whole like poster full of or wraparound comic cover of all these guys was pretty neat. But anyway, that was something that really stuck with me in my youth of collecting comics, was that one poster. So that's cool that it was mentioned.
Bonus points.
So anyway, yeah, bonus points. But what I did was I flipped a coin based on the two entries because they both answered correctly, and Guy won the coin toss. So we'll have to go into the vault and pull out something to send him for guessing the correct answer. Not sure what it's going to be yet, but it will be something hopefully Savage Dragon related. So, Guy, if you're listening to this, send us your contact information. We can send you out something.
It won't be dung.
It will be, official dung. Official dung's dung.
Savage
Didn't we already make this joke up?
Did we?
Didn't we already? I don't know. We said something to that effect. Oh, you were going to wrap up a piece of poo or something and send it.
Send your raven's head in a box. How that
There
sound?
you go. It's got to be worth something to like a scientist. There's organs in there, right? Eyes, brains, ear parts.
If you say so.
Your head's got organs.
I don't know about your head.
All right. What about the other trivia question? Don't you have something you want to ask people?
So, yeah, this episode's question. You guys ready? At the 2004 Wizard World Chicago Convention, Erik Larsen was giving away a limited edition promotional item to promote the, quote, Savage Dragon for President story arc. What was the promotional item? So this was something that was only available at Wizard World Chicago. It was promoting that Savage Dragon for President story, which, remember that it's when we first saw Ronald Winston Urass, and this kind of question is related to this episode because we'll see him when we talk about 189. But if you guys know, send your responses to SavageFINcast@gmail.com, and we'll sing your praises on the next episode of the FINcast. So yeah, that does it for our trivia segment.
Was it a stained blue dress?
Can't believe it.
No.
I can't believe that was like 10 years ago now.
What, the staining of the
Yeah,
blue
you're right.
dress?
No, 2004.
If that had hit
Wizard
pay
World
dirt,
Chicago.
if that had hit pay dirt, that kid could have been, a 10-year-old by now.
Wait, what?
It's Monica Lewin. We'll just let repeat listens. That's like a little bonus extra for the folks. You'll get it one day. Moving right along.
So should we get into the meat of this?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Savage Dragon 189.
So this was an issue.
It was a barn burner. It was awesome.
Yeah, you say it like you didn't like. Did you not like this issue?
Sorry, I'm making it sound like I'm just trying to be is catty the right term? I'm trying to.
We got the snobby host, the catty
I'm
host.
trying to understate it.
Oh.
Gotcha. I'm gonna just step it right up and just say this issue blew my mind. I thoroughly enjoyed this.
You know who
the hell
else's
out of this
mind
issue.
got blown?
We'll get to it.
It blew a lot of minds, this issue.
So
First off,
we'll get
that cover.
Yes.
yes,
It's the bomb.
yeah, it's pretty neat. It's always fun to see when the logo gets put into different positions. I want to say we've actually seen this positioning of the logo before, back during way back during the World Tour arc, or was it the Image?
It was during Solar Man
Right.
when all the Golden Age heroes.
Yeah. Right, we had all the Golden Age heroes on one side, and it was Dragon, right, on the other, or was it? No, it was all the Image heroes. It was Dragon,
Yeah.
Invincible, and Spawn, and Witchblade, and I want to say the composition was very similar to this one. Except for you could see all the Golden Age characters' faces. But anyway, I
Right.
digress. Really cool to see the logo, like, just, in a different position once in a while. And it's like,
Yeah,
it's like the it's like it makes the logo like understated, so this looks more like a pinup, and it doesn't. The logo doesn't really dominate it.
Yeah, that's perfectly
agree.
said.
I agree. Erik's, I think, a master at, drawing covers that just draw your eye to it, and with all, the use of all this kind of white space, the long shadows, your eyes go directly to like Savage Dragon, and then you kind of look up and you just see, the menacing, which you picture as a bunch of prisoners ready to just beat the crap out of Dragon.
And the color experiment is on the cover of this one too. They're all flat, and he's got shading.
Yeah. Yep.
True.
Very cool.
Cool.
So you guys were you guys remember when we were talking about the cover to what was it, 192 with a dragon being led to the electric chair with the priest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, it appears to be the Church of the Dragon minister.
Now,
I want to say Craig called that, didn't he?
Yeah, I think he did.
Good job,
Cecil
detective.
Parasol.
Yeah.
You know it.
Way to go, Super Sleuth. What now?
Cecil Parasol.
I
What made you
recognize that
think
bowl
that?
cut anywhere.
Oh yeah.
Look at that bowl cut. Who gets a bowl cut like that? The guy uses a Flowbee to cut his hair.
Oh God.
I'm not
It's
even
not
sure I know what a
flattery
Flowbee
this
is.
time. Tell
You
him.
don't know what a Flowbee is? Do you know what a Flowbee is, Raven?
It is if a vacuum cleaner and a razor made love, sweet love, Flowbee would be their baby.
You never saw those infomercials, probably in the 90s, and it was like, nah, you can cut your children's hair at home. And it was basically like, yeah, like you said, it was like a clipper connected to, like you could connect to your, like, one of your canister vacuums or whatever.
Right.
Or something. Or
So-
maybe
so
it
what,
was,
you
maybe you couldn't
Sucked up
connect
the
it.
hair
Maybe
while
it
he
was
was
just a
like
piece.
doing the clipping.
It
Yeah,
sucks.
well, yeah,
while
it pulled your
cuts.
hair up, like, so you connected it to your head, and it just kind of, like, pulled on your head, like a vacuum. Like, it would make your hair stand up, and then it would clip it as your hair was standing up. And then, like, everyone in the commercial just had, like, a bowl cut. It was absolutely horrendous, and probably the worst inventions ever made.
Wow. No, I don't
Look it
remember
up.
that one.
Look it up.
It even had a Wayne's World sketch.
Did it?
Did it? I don't even remember.
The guy tells Garth he's like, it sucks while it cuts. And Garth goes, it certainly sucks. And then his hair goes in, and he's like, because it's about to cut his hair.
Oh, man.
It was a bowl cutting machine.
Yeah. So look it up.
What made you? I'm curious. What made you think that was him?
Well, I think it just made sense ultimately based on
Yeah,
foreshadowing.
All right. I didn't
doesn't-
see it coming. It shocked me. I was like,
What? That it was Cecil Parasol on
yeah,
the cover?
I didn't know it was him.
That's in the cover pretty clear. I swear it is.
I guess I didn't know what Cecil Parasol looked at. What other issues he been in?
Yeah, he's been on like one page previously.
Oh, okay.
No. No,
Yeah,
he hasn't.
was
He's been...
that pulpit page during the was it not the trial, but would have been 3 or 4 issues.
He was on that, but then he was also on, like, in the crowd when people were, like, down with Savage Dragon. Wasn't that in the issue before this, or 2 issues before this?
Could have been. I may not have been.
He's made a few. He's been on a few, I swear. Anyway.
Moving right along. My bad. Didn't mean to derail things. I was shocked is all.
Well, it brought in a good conversation about Flowbee, so
Wayne's World.
it's definitely worth it. One thing that this first page, which I was pretty happy to see, was Dragon with his beard, which is like, we haven't seen that in how many issues since he was in space, maybe.
Yeah.
And now his beard's gray, which brought me back to, do you guys remember, and the listeners out there, if you guys were on Erik's Facebook or on Twitter, wasn't it like, maybe 3 months ago when Erik grew his beard out?
I am so glad you said that because I felt psychotic for thinking it.
Maybe I am psychotic, but I think that Erik grew his beard out to see what it would look like, so he knew how to color the beard on Dragon. So if it came back out gray, he was like, Dragon's beard should be gray.
Well, that was like no shave November, which is an actual that's
the secular
weird
holiday.
I don't know why it exists, but it is a thing.
Like Shark Week.
I thought it was weird that he was participating in No Shave November, but it could have been Dragon research. But
he's kind of like Erik's made Dragon like pretty close to his age, right?
I think so.
I'm reading this. I'm like, his beard's gray. Erik grew his beard. It would be a good question for Erik. If we can get him on.
You're like, was No Shave November practice for this issue? No, it's so funny. I'm so glad you said that because I felt insane. It was a secret I was going to take to my grave that I thought that, but I was like, when I saw that Dragon's beard was gray, I was like, I wonder if that was inspired by real life because I think he even said he was like, yeah, last time I had a beard, it wasn't gray.
Yeah.
It didn't look like this, and people were like, you look like John Byrne. Everybody was busting his chops over that beard.
Yeah. So yeah, that was my first thought when I saw this because I think last time we saw Dragon with the beard was when he was in space and the Godland thing, and I'm pretty sure his beard was pretty dark. Definitely not gray, but it is cool to see.
Like a gray beard just ages like anyone, like so much. It's like really shocking. So when you see Dragon with the gray beard, it's like, whoa. It really drives home.
Well, in that first panel, though, he still looks like a badass.
Oh, yeah.
Well, beards are pretty cool.
But I always liked that about Dragon. I wish that Erik did that more, or at least showed him shaving more, or at least, it was like for a while, like...
Wasn't that beard in, like, issue number 3 of the miniseries enough?
Yeah. Wasn't it on the cover of like the first issue of the regular series too?
Yeah.
He had he had the handlebar mustache for a minute.
Yeah. But I thought it was kind of neat. It kind of made him more of an average Joe guy, and then I think Erik kind of just got rid of it after like the Savage World, and of all places, the Savage World, where you're like running around scurrying from like squatter house to survive, and like through that whole like story arc, Dragon's face is like soft as a baby's ass, which I didn't understand, but I think it was just
factor.
Yeah, but I always kind of I didn't like I definitely wouldn't want Dragon to be walking around with a beard all the time, but it was kind of a cool touch that every once in a while, when he was kind of laid up or beat up,
his face and lets it grow back. That's how he shaves on the run.
Healing factor just comes right in. But yeah, so anyway, I thought it was pretty cool to see the beard back. Like he just doesn't give a shit anymore.
Yeah.
They don't give you razors in prison.
Yeah.
He might hurt He might hurt himself.
He looks grizzled, and I think it adds to his I guess kind of he's in a position right now in life where, life's shitting on him pretty bad. And the beard really adds to that. So it's a good call.
Yeah, definitely.
Ah, Cecil, you loser. that panel of him like, but you inspire people. He couldn't look more doofy. You're still saving lives. So whiny.
Shut up, man-child.
Shut up, Floby.
Anyway,
so was I the only one who thought that Frank owned this convenience store for some reason?
You're talking about the next scene where Malcolm confronts Frank?
Yeah.
I didn't. I didn't think that.
I didn't.
Because rereading it, I realized now he's just a stock boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was part of meant to make him look more pathetic.
Yeah, I kind of just immediately I thought that he'd gone into the green grocer business.
Well, my life's over. Time to become a grocer.
But that doesn't make any sense. He doesn't have any money to start his own business.
Nah, he's pretty much a stock boy. Did you guys notice the poo wipe in the background?
I did.
When you really got a poo wipe.
That's what Frank must have been stalking when Malcolm was talking to him.
This is my life.
Stalking poo wipe.
For the listeners, they're like, what the hell are these guys talking about? And it's just, if you look in the background on the shelves, there's definitely toilet paper called poo wipe sitting there. And being as juvenile as we are, we had to point that out.
We love it. It's fantastic. It's a great touch. And it's a running gag, too, isn't it? Isn't poo wipe a running gag?
Yeah, you get that newspaper article when you really got to poop.
Yeah, this is the first time we've seen the rolls stacked.
Yeah.
Usually one's on the
So-
side.
So Malcolm gives Frank Jr. some cash. Now, where's Malcolm getting his money? Like, remind me, is he getting paid by the police force, or what's
I want to
going
say,
on?
being a semi-celebrity, he gets like advances for like talk shows or something,
Okay.
or something along those lines. Because being
Or endorsements.
semi-famous,
I felt like it was from Frank's mom.
that's possible.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Like, here's some money. Because it kind of Frank seems like maybe he's not on talking basis with his family anymore.
Or he's too proud to take the money. He wants to support his family on his own.
How Malcolm gets by is sort of the kind of a question mark in general. I mean, I suppose Mrs. Darling must collect pension from her husband.
Yeah,
Yeah,
at this point, he still lives in her house, right? And
Right.
he's still going to high school, so I assume that she just takes care of him.
Yeah, I thought he was just like a student. Just like he lives just like a student lives, only he fights crime sometimes.
So you're probably right. The cash is probably like allowance or whatever extra money he's made in appearances or whatever.
I'm not actually sure what Malcolm's status with the police force is right now. Is if he's just a vigilante, or if he's condoned by the police, or actually called by the police. It's a bit, I don't know, undefined.
Seems like he gets
Right.
calls.
It was more like a desperation call, like, we've exhausted all of our resources, come punch this guy.
He is 16
Right.
after all, I guess.
Yep. Yeah, totally. It's a little weird gray area, and it's kind of I just chalk it up to being comics. where
Yeah.
He comes in and beats the crap out of the guy for the cops. I mean, obviously that probably wouldn't ever work in the real world, but we're talking about superpowered guys with fins on their head, so
It's unfortunate that it doesn't get more, I don't know, examination, because in the early days of the comic, Dragon had a lot of issues with, like, police brutality complaints, or, like, procedure complaints. Basically, he wouldn't, like, he'd punch
yeah, he'd
first,
rough guys up.
rough
and-
guys up a
yeah.
little too much, and basically it was a big issue and, like, played into the plot line sometimes, and I found that all fairly interesting, but it meant that Dragon's role was clearly defined. I mean, he was a cop brought in as kind of a solution to this, like, all-encompassing problem, but it became in itself another problem. I don't know. I just found all that very interesting in the early days, and it just seems kind of glossed
Like
over.
using excessive force.
Excessive force. That's what I was thinking of. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Yeah, Malcolm is a bit of a sort of a freelance kind of a guy.
Maybe they're just more used to superheroes now, 20
Yeah.
years later.
I mean, it's different than when it started. When it started, Dragon was, Chicago's hope or whatever, and now Chicago has, like, it had practically.
Chicago's been burned to the ground how many times, and giant flying monsters fly over it now, and you got the danger zone, and so you got to figure, it's just not Overlord is like the only bad guy, and you got this rogue gang, or mafia. It's, worldwide threats. It's a whole
Mars
different world.
attacked.
Yeah. The cosmic cops.
Ah, Lordy.
Anyway, let's move on to this next scene where we see who at first we think is Jennifer approach Cyril and Ferris, also known as Animal and Bloop, which is kind of an odd scene.
Is it?
I think so. It's all right. Let's just describe the scene. It's in the issue before.
2 issues ago.
They come, or was it 2 issues
Yeah,
ago? 2 issues ago, they walk into their house, and they find her asleep in their bed, kind of like a Three Bears scenario or something like that. Like, whoa, who's this?
And then Animal.
My big so it comes out that Jennifer is the sister to Animal and Bloop.
Yes.
And I can't wrap my head around that, because how come it's never discussed in any of the previous issues?
Well,
like, you never hear Jennifer be like, "Oh, Dragon, by the way, those 2 goons in the vicious circle you're beating up are my brothers," or you never hear Animal and Bloop say to Dragon like, "Oh, you're married our sister," or whatever. It's just never mentioned. You would think it would be mentioned.
They weren't at the wedding.
And now what's that?
They weren't at the wedding.
They weren't at the wedding. But you would think at some point it would be mentioned that,
but
Jennifer's related to 2 vicious circle goons.
But Animal and Bloop are like background noise. They rarely have a role that is anything more than a cameo, I guess.
Yeah, I gotta be honest that, like, when I first saw them, I thought they were new characters. I realized they looked familiar, but, like, that's how unimportant they are in my brain. Like, I was just like, nah, who are these guys?
Which makes me think, like, why even bother, like, bring that scenario in? You know what I mean?
I'll admit that it was kind of a thing I didn't quite follow, like the Wild Star thing. When you guys were talking about, like, their whole, like, familial ties and everything back when the appearance first happened, I was sort of like, whatever. But I don't know, it didn't bother me, but I could see where if you were more, like, dialed in, it would be really stand out and strange.
I guess that's the one. It just bothers me that it was never meant, like, it's just mentioned now after the fact, and it's like, it's just weird to me. It just seems off. I don't know why.
Well, I think someone on the forum brought up that at some point Animal and Bloop were working with Overlord after Overlord had allegedly killed Jennifer in the original Image Universe timeline, I guess. And that there was question marks about why they'd be working with Overlord in that situation. And I guess there's some mental gymnastics you can do to explain it, like they were mind controlled, or they didn't know, or they're career criminals and don't care. I mean, there's ways that you can rationalize things, but the reality is these characters were brothers and sisters in the old days before Image Comics version of Savage Dragon, and this is just like a continuity nod to that.
I understand that, but again, it's like, why force it?
Why force it? That's a good question.
That's fine. I mean, I
have a feeling that what this scene is really about is what's his name? Does he have a name yet?
Barry.
The little kid, Barry Dragon.
Dark Dragon's kid. That this is moving Dark Dragon's kid's plot along.
Yeah.
Because
and I think it's closure for these characters, Animal and Bloop now. As you see as the scene goes on, you'll see there's closure kind of for them, and maybe because they are longtime characters that Erik had created before, Dragon was even a series. Maybe that's part of it, but again, it just seems, especially, for somebody, like I'm thinking of, maybe someone that just started reading 40 issues ago, it's like, you got to be really confused at this part.
Well, I mean, it's well, of course, Jennifer's turned up. She has this dragon kid with her, and Animal and Bloop are confused because Jennifer's supposed to be dead, and she certainly never had a kid with Dragon. And then, of course, Battle Axe turns up, and she's pissed because this woman has her kid. And of course, now that we've seen the kid, well, it's a little bit later, but it turns out that Jennifer is, of course, Mutation, who I figured was the case from the beginning, because Jennifer's dead.
Well, and Mutation grabbed Barry. Remember, she posed, because mutation can shapeshift, and she posed as She-Dragon, I believe, to look through the police files to find Barry while what's her name? What's the blue lady's name? Battle Axe. While Battle Axe was incarcerated. So I believe that's how it went.
Yeah. Well, she didn't so much impersonate She-Dragon. She impersonated Amy.
Yeah.
Who was depowered at the time.
Right.
But anyway, same difference.
So instead of, I know this scene kind of skips back and forth, so let's just talk about this whole scene as like one thing. So then you have Battle Axe come, and she caps who at the time we think is Jennifer in the face, turns out to be Mutation, and Mutation and Battle Axe are just battling each other. And what happens is, out of the shadows comes Negate and touches Mutation. And what we see is Mutation's actually two people. It's Helen Black,
right,
and Gertie Funt. And we know from, back in, the early days of Savage Dragon that Gertie Funt was Jennifer's best friend. And she's kind of, it comes out in this issue, jealous of Jennifer because Jennifer has got everything, or had everything, like good looks, a celebrity husband, blah, blah, blah. And she also blamed Dragon for Jennifer's death. And then we know Helen Black turns out her backstory, I believe, was she was one of the survivors from the Arachnid attack back in the early, was it the miniseries of Savage Dragon, when he was like, Arachnid was grabbing all sorts of little kids. Apparently she was one of the little kids, and she was saved when Erik grabbed Arachnid. And then she's
been 20 years, right? So I mean,
yeah,
20-ish years. So
apparently, I mean, you never saw it in the scene, but I guess she was like under the corpses of kids or something. It was mentioned somewhere, I believe. I can't remember. I could be wrong. And she's been infatuated with Dragon. So both Helen Black and Gertie Funt, Helen Black wants to be by Dragon's side, kind of like a She-Dragon scenario. She's just infatuated with him. And Gertie Funt has different reasons for wanting to get close to Dragon to, I guess, eventually kill him.
Right.
So they make a pact with the Power Broker, who I guess combines both of them into one being. And I guess their consciousness was both locked into this one body, and they were fighting for control.
That does explain why she seemed to be so erratic at times as Mutation.
Yeah.
But also, I'm trying to remember, didn't Mutation disguise herself as Helen Black for a time as a way to like?
Well, I think that she could shift into whatever body she wanted to. So I think when Helen got control, she could shift into her body if she wanted. You know what I mean?
Right, but I'm saying that, remember way back in that there was a free comic book day issue, and one of the stories was Savage Dragon bit that had the character Dragon driving around with Helen Black, and basically Dragon wasn't sure if Jennifer was alive or dead at the time, and either he made a pass at her or Helen made it seem like he did, and so she flipped out and just started beating the hell out of him.
Yeah, she let him on. You're remembering right. Yep. She let him on, and he took the bait.
Right.
And it was a test, and he failed.
Right.
So that could have been like Gertie taking over the Jennifer person.
See, that's what I'm thinking was the case at the time.
Yeah.
Is that right? She was using Helen Black's form to like mess with Dragon and justify her actions.
Right. So you get Negate touching Mutation, separates Mutation back into the original forms of Helen Black and Gertie. And, it's apparent that Gertie was the one that wanted to steal Barry and have her own little Savage Dragon kid. And then Battle Axe basically rips her in half. And I'm kind of treating this scene as one scene, so it's just easier to talk about. But this scene kind of skips all around the issue. It keeps flashing. It keeps going back to this scene. And so now Gertie's dead. Helen Black's just sitting there, and she kind of explains everything. on how they came to be mutation.
Which is interesting. I mean, I'm a little disappointed that basically mutation's been taken off the table, because I found her to be an interesting antagonist. But I can see why. And
right.
I'm more interested in why Negate was there. He just wandered in.
Well,
I really don't know.
Well, I think
why
this is what happened.
There.
I think this is what happened. I think you got the scene where, 2 episodes ago, Jennifer shows up in their bed, and I think now we get to in their house, in Animal Bloop's house, and in their bed, and then you get into this episode, which apparently is, sometime later, because she's no longer in bed. So I get in my head, they placed a call to Negate to be like, hey, get over here. We don't think this is our sister. Let's check this out and see if, it's some kind of imposter. I don't know. That's how I explain it in my head.
That's how it rolled in the Q&A, according to Erik. Russ Burlingame asked him the same thing, and he said that time had passed. So, Dragon rolls by in real time. I'm assuming 2 months have passed. So they've had her in their apartment for a bit before they have Negate. Just because you could see when the scene opens, they're sort of calling her out. I mean, on everything not adding up with her story. And then once she's outed, the first thing he says is, see, it's just like I thought. She's not our sister. So Negate being there, it seems weird, but I think it's exactly like you said. He was there to sort of help deal with this situation because they knew something was wrong.
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to take this time to call out Erik on a hilarious tangent issue. If you look at the page, for the listeners, look at the page where Negate touches mutation. It's the one that's, mutations. If you look at the panel where it's the top right-hand corner, the panel is mutation, Negate with his hand up. You guys on that page?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the panel below it, and it's the rest of Negate's body, and it just looks like a giant head on a small body.
Yep.
Bobblehead Negate, yeah. True enough.
Thought that was pretty hilarious.
Yeah. Somebody put the big head codes on Negate.
So just to wrap up the Helen Black scene, there's this bit towards the end where, what is it? Animals quote unquote cleaning up, which appears he's like crushing, Gertie's head, what's left of her. Is he like consuming her or like disintegrating her? I guess I don't know what his powers are.
It seemed to me like
he's just a super strong dude, and it's just funny. It's like Bloop is like, hey, don't clean up, we can't, and then it's Animal just gush. He just grabs that. I guess it was her head. That can't be anything else. Just totally crushes it.
How does crushing the head clean up the mess, though? I guess it's just
who knows.
Maybe he's compressing her down to like.
I like that. Like he was like, "Don't clean up," and then you just see like a blood, like like her head just plopping. I was sort of confused on that dialogue myself.
And then like Helen Black has no reaction. She just keeps going with her story. Are you done? I want to continue my story.
The nightmare's over, Well, they get, like you said, though, closure. I mean, if you needed closure for Bloop and Animal, here it is. I wonder if this is closure for Negate. This just is another part of the reboot, the soft reboot, wrapping up all the loose threads, as much as they can. Like you said, Jim, taking cards off the table.
Right. It is interesting. This does sort of reintroduce Negate, and I wonder if that's going to be relevant leading up to the execution.
Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah.
He could be out of the book. It could be reintroducing him.
But yeah, and it's an interesting little bit, especially concerning mutation's actual origins.
I got to tell you the truth. I learned way the hell more about blooping animal than I thought. I was like, blooping animal. It's just so weird that they were like, part of this whole thing. But I did like to see, Battle Axe be involved in that, and I don't know. It was cool. As weird as it was, I was okay with it because I didn't feel like I had to really know their whole like family ties or whatever. It just didn't, especially since it didn't really pan out for her anyway. I was like, well, screw it. It got introduced. It was kind of a weird thing, but it got wrapped up real quick too.
Yeah. So let's go back and now talk about the scenes with Dragon in jail. Or we can kind of skip around as the scenes go now that we kind of got the mutation scene out of the way.
Urass in prison.
Yeah.
Good one.
There's this. Urass is just kind of like taunting Dragon, just basically like, you're gonna die in prison, and he's just talking about. He tells at one point he tells Dragon he mentions he's Dragon's greatest foe or something. How does he say? He's just like, you're gonna die from your greatest foe ever or something like that.
He basically acts like I orchestrated all this.
Yeah. He's like, and your greatest foe will have killed you at last. And I like how Dragon's like, don't flatter yourself. There's 100 guys in this place who are a lot higher up on the greatest foes list than you. It's just total classic Dragon. He's got the last snarky remark, and that second to last panel.
He's so self-aware.
Yeah. And I like how he's like, I know how things work here, I'll be sitting on death row for decades, and he's like telling Ronald, he's like, you're an old man. I'll be around long after you kick the bucket. He's
all grrr.
Yeah, you just see your ass just shaking his fist like, God damn it.
Why you?
But I love the dialogue from this whole issue. Dragon's dialogue has just been on point. It's that classic like snarky, Dragon dialogue that I just love. When Erik gets in a groove, sometimes Dragon just like his witty remarks are just hilarious.
Yeah, it's definitely classic Dragon moments. I mean, like, every bit in this was just classic Dragon. Like, every little, we'll get, more as they go, but just like, this was such a great issue for him, especially since, as the book moves towards Malcolm, he's not been in it so much lately,
Well, we've had, issues upon issues with, him as Kerr or, whatever, where it wasn't really like it might be a Dragon's body, but it wasn't really Dragon. So we really haven't had a good chunk of issues to really absorb of like, classic Dragon.
Right. And this is like the first chance we've gotten where Dragon can like sort of re-engage in his old life.
Yeah.
Like dealing with his old, his old rogues gallery, I guess. Because, he's been on trial, he's been in space, he's been dead. But now he's back on Earth in the middle of all these guys. So you get a chance for him to, really, get back into his old groove, I guess.
Yeah, just him versus some ugly freaks.
Well, I've been waiting for this one scene since I saw the cover of this and knew that, knew the direction this book was going in with Dragon in jail. I've just been waiting for this scene where it's like a group of Vicious Circle goons being like, yeah, we're going to get you now, Dragon. And we get that scene, and we get a bunch of familiar baddies. They're maybe not the classic baddies from like, early Savage Dragon, but definitely guys we've seen sprinkled throughout.
Yeah.
And I wrote a list. Yeah, I wrote a list of the guys, just if the listeners can kind of listen along, and you can look them up on the wiki.
Let me take a crack at guessing some of these guys, because I don't know their names. All right, we got Pucker, who I think we've seen recently. And then this guy, is he Metal Mouth? With the teeth?
Iron Jaw.
Ah.
Close. You're in the neighborhood.
Dickhead, the guy with the split in his forehead.
No, that's Tumor.
I'm not sure.
You want to keep guessing, or you want me to go on?
Is it like the guy with the crossover's eye? I got nothing.
Cross-eye.
Of course. Of course.
Well, why not?
And how about a random butt ugly looking guy, number 6?
It's either there's
with the
ugly,
winged ears.
That's Ugly Johnny. And then also Beelzebub is in there on the scene. Like, for that first scene, it's Cross-Eye, Iron Jaw, Ugly Johnny, Pucker, and Tumor. And then, it's got some classic, I don't know if you want to go through this whole thing, but I think it's worth it just to talk about this scene. I love how he's like, he's walking in Dragon's walking in jail, so this group of 5 or 6 of these guys come up and like, where you think you're going, Greenskin? Isn't this the way to the pool hall? You're looking for a world of hurt, old man. And it's just something funny. Dragon comes back and basically paraphrasing, it's like, it's something to consider. I've already been convicted of murder and I'm slated to sit on the hot seat. So basically, you screw with me and he's just going to like destroy these guys. So he's like, do yourself a favor and keep walking. And then that's when you see Cross-Eye kind of jump and try to tackle Dragon from behind. You get the next scene. We kind of it skips to another scene and then skips back to the jail scene. And it's just, with such ease, Dragon just points his index finger up and catches Cross-Eye in the mouth, like underneath the chin. His finger just pokes up through his chin. I mean, I'm sure everyone that's listening to this podcast has read the issue, so I don't really have to explain it in such detail, but it's just hilarious how he takes all these guys out.
That's just a hilarious moment. When he just, like the way, like you said, he's like delivering a one-liner, he's like, and action. Just poking his finger up. Like, it's such a hilarious
Catches the guy in the jaw and just flips him over his shoulder. Grabs Ugly Johnny, the guy with the fin ears, bites his ear off, spits it into the... What's that?
Hold a Tyson.
Yeah, pulls a Mike Tyson. Bites his ear off, spits it into the Iron Jaw guy's mouth. That guy's that guy's choking. Ugly Johnny's holding his face. It's bleeding. I don't know in that scene if it's... I think another guy's getting thrown into another guy or something. But it's just hilarious, and it's just like... It's basically Dragon like, we're going to do this, aren't we? And he's just going at it. But as the scene goes on, again, it kind of skips around and goes to different scenes. But more and more, we see more and more Vicious Circle guys. We start seeing, we see Doubleheader. We see Yellow Trevor, which last time we saw him was in the gang war story arc. We see Charlie Triumph, who kind of is a Luke Cage black guy looking guy. Bighorn, White Trash, and Blue Demon all kind of join the fray, and then eventually you see Dragon's just getting outnumbered. But I don't know if you guys want to talk about the other scenes in between before we conclude the prison fight scene, or if you want to just finish it off.
We can even just roll in a sequence if you want, just like with this whole prison thing. Because, we've been rolling out a sequence for this whole thing, so that's fine.
Yeah.
I should probably bring up, I kind of like how this issue jumps around a lot. It's like there's 3 or 4 different, things going on, and it like bounces between them like every 2 pages. 2 or 3 pages.
Yeah.
It's actually hard to tell which is the A plot and which are the B plots, and I think it's meant to they're all A plots. It's all important stuff going on.
Definitely.
Yeah, really, it really is. Because at this point you got 2 main characters. You got Malcolm and you got Dragon. So
right.
And then you got some of these subplots, which is wrapping up the whole mutation thing. But
so I've said it once.
Everything is pretty relevant.
I feel like I say it every podcast now, but this book is at its best when it's got all those plates spinning. When you get all these things going on, that's when it's the best. And I love this issue for that. Absolutely.
It doesn't give you a chance to catch your breath because you're in the middle of the scene and there's someone getting the crap beat out of them, and then it flips and it might be maybe 1 page of dialogue where Malcolm's talking to either Thunderhead or Maxine, but it lasts 1 page and then you flip it and it's like Dart chopping up someone with a sword, or Dragon getting his ass beat in prison or whatever, but I love the pacing. It's a great issue for pacing.
Absolutely, yeah. I feel like this book has one of the most kick-ass. I mean, admittedly, my comic reading has gone down a lot here lately, but just by contrast, the only other book I've got right now, Walking Dead, the pace difference between that, there's so much talking, and sometimes you're just what really happened this issue? I just, could I really say anything huge happened? And that's not knocking that book. I'm just saying it's a difference in pacing. That Savage Dragon has a breakneck pace. Invincible does too. That's also from Kirkman. And again, Invincible is best when it's got a ton of things going on. So yeah, and like Jim said, there's not characters really. There's not stuff going on that you don't care about too much.
Right.
I think that's why Bloop and Animal threw people.
Why? Because you don't care?
Yeah, well, that's exactly it. Who do you care about in that scene? Jennifer more than them.
That's true.
So when it plays out that it's ooh, it's mutation, I'm sure most people are huh?
Right. So just to close off the Dragon prison scene before we get to the last scene, it just ends up with basically everyone's kind of piled up on Dragon. He's just getting his ass beat. You see this one guy's nice effort, old man, but this is a young man's game. And then you hear the sound effect crack. So you imagine, some bone on Dragon just got broken. And as the panels go by, it's just all these guys are just on top of Dragon, and there's just kind of blood splatter flying around.
Is this green guy new?
I don't know. I don't know if I've ever seen him. I'm not sure.
He's badass looking.
Yeah. So let's talk about all the couple of little dialogue scenes that Malcolm has that kind of go back and forth during this whole prison fight. Especially, we see the one where Malcolm visits Thunderhead in the Hillman Hospital, and if we remember, the Claw kind of. I don't know if can't remember if he stepped or if he punched Thunderhead when he was a giant, and we're told that his spine is broken or something to that effect, where he might not ever walk again.
The doctors have said he will never walk again.
And that's but Thunderhead's doctors say a lot of things, they're not always right. I think we'll see Thunderhead back in action.
I don't think we will.
No?
No, I think his shtick's gonna be wheelchair-bound super guy.
Really?
So? Yep.
Well, that would be a bold move.
We'll see.
Like I said in the past, I really like the Thunderhead character. I like the look, because he just looks like a bad guy, but he's really kind of a good guy, and I like when you have characters like that look one way but are actually really another way. He just looks pure evil. I mean, he's a skeleton with fangs and glowing eyes. It's cool that he's kind of got a good relationship with Malcolm, at least now.
Yeah. He also seems to be he takes responsibility.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're half brothers, which is another cool element to it,
Half brothers between dimensions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had wondered if, because he is his half brother, if Malcolm's blood wouldn't kill him. You know how Dragon, for people who don't know, Savage Dragon blood, when mixed with other people, tends to kill them. It makes them explode because Savage Dragon has such a powerful alien immune system or whatever that it dominates and destroys whoever you put the blood in. But being that they have the same mom, I wonder.
I think it would.
You think it would kill him?
Yeah, because maybe if his father was Dragon from another dimension, but he's basically a human.
Skull faces Rapture's kid. He's human.
Yeah, he's not Krylin or whatever.
Although that's an interesting thought. I mean, Malcolm's half human. I don't know.
Chosen one,
But he was born.
It'd probably be too dicey to try.
Yeah. I don't know. If I'd never walk again, I'd try it. Screw it.
Right.
So then we get another little scene between Malcolm and Maxine, which are always fun. Maxine is rapidly becoming one of my favorite supporting characters.
Yeah, I love any scene between these two is great. Malcolm looks like a bum, and he's getting called out on it. And
but I love how he calls her out, because she's like, you always wear the same clothes or whatever, but he's like, well, what about you? You look like Sailor Moon all the time.
It's fantastic. I love that they addressed it. I thought it was just going to go unaddressed. You got to think, she's not in school anymore, so what is with her outfit?
Yeah, I don't know. It is kind of funny.
Maybe she is a magical girl part-time. We just haven't found out yet.
Fighting evil by moonlight?
That'd be awesome, actually. I can dream.
Well, Malcolm does like Speed Racer and apparently Sailor Moon, so, might be where his taste. I could see him being down with that.
So, this is kind of like what we were talking about, though, where you get the police calling Malcolm. You hear Malcolm's end of the conversation. He's like, yeah, you can't stop her? Okay, I'll be right there. So, the cops are definitely calling Malcolm for assistance.
Mm-hmm.
And I like his last line. Is it okay if I wear this to fight bad guys? And then the next scene that you see him in, where he's fighting, he's wearing different clothes.
Yeah, you got to think it wasn't okay. Like the between panels things, like, no, take those bum clothes off.
What's funny about this with the scene transition? He goes out the door, and then we get to the scene with Dart, and I think she's the one he's called about. But later you find out that's not the case. I think that was a clever bit of misdirection.
Agreed. Cosign.
Yeah.
Who is this douchebag?
Well,
that's Warhawk.
He is a douchebag.
He was a prominent member of the Annihilators back in the day. Which he showed up in a bunch of the early issues, and I think he showed up in the Deadly Duo, the first miniseries. But he was like one of Cyberface's right-hand men in the Annihilators. What I didn't realize in this scene until like the third or fourth reading of this book was that he's holding Frank Jr.
He is.
I
just didn't put that together when I first read it.
I got it. I got that it was him, which is nice because you don't see anything, like you don't see her kill Frank Jr. or anything, but you got to realize that Frank Jr. has witnessed Dart massacre someone. So that could go somewhere, or it could totally go.
He shall become the tomato.
I like their interaction too, because it gives you kind of like a sense that they're familiar with each other and there's some history there. Like, Dart's like good old Warhawk, ever loyal lackeys who firepower. There's a new day dawning, Warhawk, and he's like, you're the new Dart, right? The one that worked for Buster Justice when he was calling the shots. So there's a lot of mention of like back history of the Vicious Circle, and I kind of like that.
Old Buster, poor Buster Justice. Wasn't Buster Justice only in that one issue? Didn't he get killed pretty quick?
Well, his brother was killed, and then he took over.
I feel like he got greased by New Overlord, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
I think it was this scene that made me think that Frank Jr. owned the grocery store, because why would Warhawk be roughing up the stock boy? I don't know.
I could see that.
maybe he's running the register or something. Who knows?
Maybe he's not as. Maybe Warhawk's about as intelligent as a bag of bricks.
Look how he dresses.
Well,
it's a woman's bathing suit.
Yeah, either that or he's coming out of the store with money or something. It could be any scenario, and he's just kind of throwing Frank aside, or maybe he's grabbing a bunch of apples and was like, "I'm hungry."
Yeah.
Get out of here, stock boy.
Well, you know what's, another interesting thing about this scene is how Dart says there's a new day dawning, Warhawk, and then Warhawk interrupts her, and then it turns out she was going to kill him the whole time because she ends her sentence with and you're not going to be part of it. Like, that's what she was going to say the whole time. I thought that was fairly funny.
There's a new day. You're not going to be part of it. Chop, chop, chop.
Yeah.
God Sword's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I got
one little nitpicky thing. It would have been cooler to have like that shack sound effect on that. There's a panel where she's cutting up Warhawk. It would have been cooler to see that sound effect repeated like 3 times, like shack, 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 because you see like 3 slices.
Right.
Yeah.
Just a little nitpicky thing, anyway.
Well, it's digital now, so they could fix it in the trade.
How are you guys finding like the new digital lettering, and now that we're a couple issues into it?
I'm going to be
the sound
slightly
effects
honest, and I sometimes overlook the sound effects now because it seems like they're smaller than they used to be.
Yeah.
I don't know. They just seem to like blend in more than they used to.
Yeah, I agree. I think I'm totally down with the lettering.
Yeah, lettering's fine.
It looks great. The sound effects, again, and I've brought this up before, so I don't want to hound on it, but the sound effects look too clean. They look like stickers.
Yeah, that's it.
You know what it is? It's that thin line weight, like on the crack or the shack or whatever, because I'm flipping open an old Dragon issue, and when it is hand-drawn, you just, you kind of can't help but put your own line weight into it as you draw the sound effect.
Yeah, yeah.
And these digital ones, they have just an extremely thin border.
Yeah,
Maybe.
They're all pretty uniform too. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like they all, like I said, they look like stickers. Like, so you can just take a sheet of them and just slap them on top of the panels or something.
Yep. I think I'll agree with that. Yeah. I think to my eye, the dialogue is perfect. It's fine. I really have no problem with the dialogue. But I'm totally with you guys that the sound effects look just a little too clean.
Yeah, yeah. And, again, it's because we've been spoiled with all the good stuff in the past. I'm not going to, bitch and moan about it if it makes the book come out on a monthly basis. The big thing is the lettering, and that, to my eye, that still looks fine now, But anyway, we didn't talk about the scene where Battle Axe is running through the city, and what we find out is what Malcolm was actually being called about.
Right.
It's a cool panel where Battle Axe just kind of charging through the city, and I like how there's just a car just looks like it's just getting knocked over by her brute strength from just running right through it.
Her and Barry.
And then you see John Day running in the background.
I gotta say, Malcolm's channeling his dad a little bit here, giving her the sass.
Yeah, I was gonna point that out too. I totally agree, and I like that.
Whoa, 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 whoa! Turns out it's not okay to destroy everything in your path. I know, right? I'm as surprised as you are.
Fantastic. It is good. I think that, it's kind of cool to see him develop, because he wasn't always witty one-liner guy.
And he's pretty witty through this whole kind of interaction with her. And Battle Axe is just a funny character because she's kind of like the Claw. She's got that old school dialogue.
Yeah, she's from Dimension X. She doesn't know how to deal with society.
Foolish whelp.
Still
knocking over vehicles is okay where she's from.
I love her fucking design. Battle Axe is one of the most awesome design characters. She has a wicked design. The colors are great. The design is wicked.
She's got lightning bolts in her hair.
Lightning bolts in her butt.
Yeah, that too.
Battle Axe.
Accentuate.
But it's
little
fantastic.
Blades on her.
Yeah, it's just such a wicked character.
And I like how her son Barry is pretty much the same size as I remember Malcolm at one point, He's not a baby anymore. He's kind of just like a little kid. Kind of reminds me of Malcolm, in the like the late '90s.
Skinny arms.
Yeah, like the issues in the '90s and stuff like that when he was still on like the original Image Earth.
Right.
I love that panel of him running away. Like, she takes the big punch at Malcolm Choom, and then at the very top, like, where you see, like, it's her butt in the foreground and Malcolm in the background. But look at how Barry is running away. It's hilarious. It's like, what? Exactly. It's like, he's a sweet kid. Don't kill him, Mommy.
So we get a major kind of I don't know what you want to call it, but like a major situation type thing where it seems to happen to Malcolm. Remember, the same thing happened when he dealt with Warren Terror, where he's trying to defend himself against a villain, and he basically electrocutes the crap out of him and kills him. So Battle Axe is on top of Dragon, and he just fries her. And then, of course, Barry, Dragon, standing there watching it all unfold and totally freaks out that Malcolm killed his mom. And I love that, that the last panel of the scene, he's like, when I'm bigger, I'm going to find you and kill you, you'll see. So that's like setting things up for Malcolm to have a major foe there in the future.
It's awesome.
I gotta wonder, if I remember correctly, Barry was conceived while Dark Dragon was depowered, right? So presumably he doesn't have the Chosen One lineage like Dragon and Malcolm do. So I gotta wonder if he'll stay skinny his whole life.
I don't know how that works.
Guess we'll find out.
You gotta think, though, his mom is powerful.
Well,
anyway.
That's true. She is pretty powerful.
So, I mean, even if all he gets is his mom's strength, I mean, he might not have the healing factor, but he'd still have the killer strength.
But, I mean, how does that work? Maybe, he was depowered, but his genes still get passed on, so maybe the kid does have it. I don't know.
I think the implication was when Dragon got negated was that his Chosen One aspect was like a unnatural mutation of some kind, or at least because he kept his super strength, but he lost his regenerative ability.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember the details.
Definitely the healing power is gone, because I remember that was a huge concern. Jennifer was always like, "Oh, you're gonna go and get killed."
Right.
I never liked her, so that's how I read all her dialogue.
So let's talk about this last page of this book, which is one of the coolest pages in Savage Dragon history, at least recent history. Love it.
I love it when Dragon uses his strength in unconventional ways.
Right.
I mean, okay, here's Urass basically taunting him because Dragon's been beaten to a pulp and he's bleeding on the floor, and so he uses the only weapon he has left, and that's one of his own teeth, and he spits it through Urass's head.
I just love the dialogue too. It's just like basically like, Urass saying, "I want you to get one thing through your thick skull, Dragon. I call the shots around here. I'm in charge." It's just Dragon, like, he's all beat up and basically like a pile of mush, and he's like, "I want you to get one thing through your thick skull," and he just spits that freaking tooth right through his head. And then that last panel, the just laughing, like just that shaky, beat up like laugh, like go to hell. It's brutal. It's almost shocking in a way, because basically Dragon just murdered this guy in cold blood as well.
And the laughing at the end, I think, is what seals it. Is that he's like laughing at his own wit.
Yeah.
Look at this pun that I managed to achieve in this spectacular fashion. No one was around to see.
I absolutely love second to last panel on this last page with the tooth going through Ronald Winston Urass's head, and you can see the tooth like in the back of his head, like going through his head, like in the blood. You see the little like dark tooth.
So awesome. It's so great.
I seriously have to wonder what ramifications this is going to have on Dragon. It can't possibly be good.
Well, in his defense, He's hated by society. Probably no one would care. But really, if anybody's having emotions, because I know some people get emotional about heroes killing or whatever.
Right.
But in his defense, Urass was making it extremely clear that, like, the, beatdown came because of him.
Right.
So, it's all defense. But I'm with you. I think that it can't make things look better. But how much more death row can they put you on? You know what I mean?
I suppose
Right.
that's true.
The panel where dragons just beat the hell. I love how he's got that like floppy cauliflower ear look going on.
It looks horrible. It's fantastic. Puffed up mole man eye.
And it's not even like puddles of blood. It's like some kind of chunky blood coming out near his mouth kind of look there. Something. I don't know.
Probably coughed up a chunk of something. It'll be fine.
So, what's a bomb? I always love this. The other time that he did this was when he chewed up a dime and spit it through Chelsea Nirvana's head.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
He was climbing up a building, didn't have a gun, so he chewed up a dime and spit it through her head. It was fantastic then.
Yes.
This is fantastic here. What's so awesome about this is that it is a display of super strength, but also one of the subtle things that the Chosen Ones seem to have is that super aiming ability.
Right, that's right.
So this is awesome for both those reasons. It's very
and if you look at those early issues when he had guns, he was again it kind of showed his super aiming ability. He was able to like hit bullseyes and stuff like that.
So this is.
I hadn't thought of that. That's a really good point. It often gets underplayed that he has like perfect aim.
It's really downplayed, I think. But even like you saw Malcolm playing basketball, and he was like sideways and threw the basketball in anyway. And it's kind of like you see it manifesting even in Malcolm. So yeah, it's a really underplayed power of his. But yeah, that's a Chosen One ability, super aiming.
So we should probably. Oh well. So this issue, pretty nuts. I gotta agree that this is definitely one of the best in a very well, not best in a long time. It's one of the best in a long line of bests. If that makes any sense.
It does. I'm with you.
Yeah.
It's just there's just so many characters die this issue. That's how you know it's Savage Dragon, when like people are getting chopped in half and things spit through their head.
Yeah, and not just like bit players like Mutation and Urass. I mean, Urass is kind of...
Battle Axe.
Yeah. Well, now, Battle Axe, I do want to say, important distinction. Barry thinks Battle Axe dead. Malcolm's not so sure. So the scene closes. We don't know just yet.
Yeah, it would be interesting if she was still alive. I find it a tad unlikely.
I think it's unlikely,
She's
too.
looking pretty skull face there.
Yeah.
That's generally an indication.
Yeah. Just thought to throw it out there, though.
I would like to see her still alive, because Battle Axe does have great design, like you said.
This was a fantastic issue. I mean, from start to end, like, we've been saying that this book is just kicking ass. I mean, it's really like, I didn't hate the Dragon War or anything, but
I hated it.
You hated it?
No, I was going to complete your sentence.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
But you hated it.
No, I didn't hate it.
I didn't hate it, but I hated it.
No, I didn't hate it, but it's funny to me. I heard people complaining or whatever that things weren't, how they liked or whatever. When I see...
I love Dragon War myself.
What was it? It was maybe Invasion that I'm thinking.
Yeah, the Invasion.
Invasion was flawed.
See, Invasion. So I liked Invasion at the time. But when you see the book doing stuff like this, like it has been for the last couple of months, it becomes evident why people were maybe dissatisfied with that, because this really is how this book... This is like Savage Dragon as it should be.
Yeah, my thing, I think where it comes down to is when Erik kind of focuses more on the street level, I think this book is the best. But I enjoy the fact that Erik does things like battling gods and alien invasions. I enjoy the variety, but I think Erik's strength is writing, when it comes to this book, is writing things on the street level, where it's kind of more micro than macro. where you can kind of have, guys just having conversations, and it's street level villains and Dragon or Malcolm. I think that's where this book kind of excels.
I tell you, if indeed our main man is on his way out, he is kicking ass all the way down. Like, this has just been fantastic. I think, see, what I want to say is I felt like the book had a handoff to Malcolm that fans didn't quite love.
Right.
And I think that, it jumped back in Dragon's hands, I think maybe to steer the ship back, maybe away from that, because it wasn't exactly taking. But I really, really dig Malcolm a lot more. And if this is the handoff, like, I don't know, it's going down a lot better this time.
Yeah. I really think, I know, Eric's mentioned that the book's going to go into like the Batman Beyond phase where Malcolm has a mentor. I really think it's going to be Dragon as the mentor. I don't think Eric has it in him to kind of kill Dragon off.
Dragon
still.
Ghost.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Dragon's still sticking around in some capacity and just kind of in the shadows. That way, if Eric wants to bring him back to fight for a couple of scenes or something, he can, but he'll be more of the like Alfred role or whatever, or the Batman Beyond, Bruce Wayne, whatever.
And it would be cool stories. I think, too, that creates potential for cool stories, like when you have, really, honestly, anytime it's so funny I was about to say, but there are comics where you have old man stories about characters, like Wolverine. There's quite a few graphic novels like that where Wolverine's old, but he's still an ass kicker. So just because a character is getting old, it's cool to see those characters still be excellent while dealing with this aging thing. So,
well, and how cool would it be to see like Dragon, in another 10 years and see what he would look like? Is his eyebrows going to be all gray? I mean, is he going to get more, wrinkles and stuff? It'd just be a neat visual to see this guy age, as time goes on. And then it's like, we've seen him from like, a young or a late 20s guy all the way to like, his 60s or something like that,
It's definitely,
anyway.
It's awesome. I'm down with it. These backups.
The backups are fascinating.
I love them.
The backups as a whole, it just, when you take these and look at these, at this point, these backups are from like, they're pre-continuity Savage Dragon, so before Image and everything like that. And it's just funny to me that Eric wrote so many stories about the Paul Dragon version of Dragon where he doesn't do anything but just hang around his house.
Well, that's the thing. Paul, this strikes me. This isn't a superhero comic. This is a comedy. This is like this. Not what am I thinking of? It's like part Scooby-Doo, part Archie. I don't know. It's like a gag comic. It's like, remember back in the early 100s when he was trying to do the comic strips?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's
it's like
what
that.
This is like.
This is like the precursor to that.
It's just funny. You just get like 5 or 6 pages of just like family hangout time. And it's just like, it just seems weird to me. Like it would be something maybe you did if you had issues under your belt, but it just seems funny to me in 1984 Eric's drawing, non-superhero stories about Dragon. He's just kind of like, you could replace Dragon with just any old dad or something like that, and it would still kind of work in these stories.
You make him green and put a fin on his head, and suddenly it's gold.
It is funny too because like look how badass he looks in that first panel, and then the rest
leaning over on the phone.
Yeah.
You're talking about like the
oh no, I'm sorry. I'm talking about.
Are we talking about because there's basically two comics. One is like self-aware thing where Dragon and Erik Larsen are basically button heads, and then there's the actual story itself,
right?
Which I think is genius. This one page like introspective thing. It's
that I like that first page though on the actual story, the Angel Fuel Quake story. Like Raven was saying, you get that badass dragon look, and it's like him saying, "This means war," and you expect it to be like him talking to some kind of villain or something.
And then
And
it's
it's
like
him
they're
playing
playing.
like a board game.
It couldn't have been more like lame.
But it's funny
They're playing Chutes and Ladders.
But it's funny too because Erik, you can see how he's progressed as a storyteller. Because if he did something like that nowadays, that would be a splash page, and you'd have to turn the page to see what it is, because it doesn't really work as well as just the panel, because you can see what's going on in the panels below, so it gives away the gag, you know?
That's true. I like him. I would like him to do an entire issue like this. I think that would be hilarious. Do current Dragon and like do a story like this, even if it's like out of continuity.
Like just hanging out at his house?
Just hanging out and being goofy dad time.
Yeah, but we had all that, like you said, in the 100s when he was doing those, like, when he was trying to go for those strips. It was like Family Circus.
That's true.
You know, in the
I'm kind of glad that's over. I was not into that as much.
I was okay with it, but I mean, it was never when the book was at its best. I mean, I guess if you've got Angel around being a cute little kid, you can't have it be all ass kicking all the time.
Right.
And it was kind of cool too. I don't know. Here's what's so funny. Think about, like, you know, Reed and Sue's kid in the Fantastic Four. I hate their kids, you know?
Really?
I just don't like seeing Franklin and
I love Franklin. I'm not totally sure about the girl because she died and then they brought her back and it's all very complicated. And now she's like a smartass.
I just think kids in comics generally are poorly done.
I think they've been doing a lot better because I have read some of the the Freedom Foundation stuff, and they do a pretty good job dealing with like superpowered kids now.
Mm-hmm.
It helps that the entire book is dedicated to it, I guess. I don't know. I think there is space in this world for children of superheroes to be children. I just think you have to strike a good balance.
Okay.
I think artificially aging them, like what happened to Franklin, is the wrong way to go about it, in my opinion.
Right.
But you do have to have some sort of real-time aging like Savage Dragon did. But even Savage Dragon basically put Malcolm under a rug for 15 years and then brought him back as a teenager, so you get to skip all that.
Yeah, yeah.
So really it's the same thing as Franklin Richards, it just took longer.
I just think that it was, if there was one thing about the family era that I was like okay with, is that it was kind of a kid in comics that I didn't hate reading.
Right.
Like,
I love Angel as a character. Seeing her grow up like that, I loved it.
Yeah, I liked Angel as a character. I wasn't big on like the whole strip kind of way of doing things. I can
understand that.
But I'm also glad that he did it because it's just another, it didn't last the whole series or anything like that, and it was just another one of the experiments that Erik did, and that's what I love about this book, that it's, you don't like the way something is for right now, stick around 10 issues and it's going to, Erik will totally do a 180 and give you something else, and it just keeps the book fresh.
Yeah.
I just got to say, I love Jennifer's Charlie Brown angry face on like the what page is this? 1, 2, third page, panel 7.
Yeah, where they're both asleep on her.
Right.
Yeah. The squiggly line, like the angry squiggle above.
Yeah. That's total Charlie Brown moment.
This is good stuff. I mean, it's so funny. It's like, even though it's kind of so weird, you would think for like a superhero to like be doing this kind of stuff, it's the kind of thing where it's like the fact that it's even enjoyable at all. Because normally, like, it's the kind of thing I hate to read in comics. I'm just like, oh god. But I don't know. It's good. It's funny stuff. Like the gags and bits work for me.
Right. Go ahead, sorry.
I just want to say the gag it ends on is kind of funny because we all know what they should be doing, but they're not.
Right.
That is a big ass beanbag.
It's funny. It's a sign of the times where you look how small the TV is and how boxy it is, and it's got the little antennas. It's definitely like places it in a certain era.
Oh yeah, it's on the little like cart with wheels.
Yeah.
The one in the living room had rabbit ears too.
Yeah.
Raven, didn't you have something to say about Paul Dragon?
I hate Paul Dragon's tiny fin. I can't stand that fin. I hate the sight of it. It's like a croissant dyed in his head. I hate it.
This is the weird thing. I've been reading through it, checking out the various angles. All right, in the very first panel on the very first page of the backup, you get that straight-on look, and it does look like basically like a big worm or croissant caressing his forehead.
Right.
But every
then you get the side panels.
Sideways, it actually looks like a little fin going across his head. So which is it? Is it a solid chunk, or is it like a flippy little flab?
Yeah, I know what you're saying. He hasn't mastered, the look of it yet, or how to get it on different angles, because it looks like like you're saying, it looks like a croissant, like a rounded type fin when you see it from the front, and then when you see it from the side, it looks like a wafer.
Yeah.
I also like the fact that this has that weird kind of like shading. Like, I don't know what that shading is. It looks like tone or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The dots.
Yeah. Like, it's so weird. I'm kind of like I'm having trouble wrapping my brain around what that is.
It's like I don't know, splatter of some kind. It's like I don't know.
It's worth noting too that like that last panel where the characters are wanting series, there's Guy and Duder, the deadly duo, Mako.
Mako, yeah.
Who's the dude with the chewed up like brain head?
Oh, the one that says Erik?
Yeah.
That's a little caricature he did of himself from like high school. If you look through his old I think it's on his Facebook page or something, but like in his yearbooks he used to draw that little head, I think, like all over the place. It's something from his like high school like sketches. Something he always put in. It showed up in other places.
Yeah, it was cool that if you look, Dart is in there, Guy and Duder, like there's so many like Star.
It looks like Horridus kind of above his forehead, but I don't know if that was actually her. And then Animal was kind of like on the very bottom under his like wrist saying Erik.
Oh yeah.
Is that the wicked worm?
Star is under the exclamation point in ARG.
Oh yeah, there's
above
powerhouses in between his fingers.
Yeah, that's right. I didn't notice that. And Zeke is in the corner.
Yep.
The lower corner. Hopefully, the listener, we haven't lost that yet, but we're talking about the first page in the backup.
Oh, yeah,
that lower right-hand panel.
You've even got the shrew between Erik about my series and mine.
The shrew?
Oh, above, yeah.
Oh, yeah, there he is.
Well.
Who's the guy with the upside-down face and, like, the circle mouth?
His mouth is an eyeball, and, like, the rest of his face is, like, upside down. I don't know. There's a guy that looks like kind of like, is it Alex Wild, or is it Spock? It's cool. It's just cool to see like these characters like way back. Like they had a presence even way back when this thing was just when Dragon was Paul Dragon. Like those characters are all still there. That's what's kind of neat.
Yeah. I would like to see at some point, if Dragon sticks around the series, him with his pair of jeans on and just that Batman utility belt with the D on it that he wears as Paul Dragon.
You thought it looked like a Batman utility belt too? I didn't catch that it was a D. Like, it's awesome. That's fantastic.
Anyway, I think we should. I think we've kind of gone pretty far. It's amazing how much time we spent on this issue.
Yeah, we were afraid we were going to run out of time. I mean, we were afraid we were going to run short.
Yeah, I mean, usually we try to fit in a back issue kind of comic or something when we only have one thing and no guest. But like we were saying off air, there's just so much in this issue to talk about. So much fat to chew on. So let's talk about the next episode, Savage Dragon 190.
Well,
I'd like to hear Raven read the solicitation again.
I think I could talk a little bit about that. The countdown to the biggest and most significant change for Savage Dragon continues as Dragon faces Mako in jail for their most brutal battle ever. So there you go. That's the copy on that one.
And this 190 is the one that's going to be featured as both regular format and digest.
Yep.
That's just around the corner. Probably in a couple 2-3 weeks.
And
hopefully.
We've also recently heard that the backup is going to be a Deadly Duo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep.
And it too will be formatted in both formats, so it'll be interesting to see someone else going along with what Erik's trying to do.
Right, and the artist for that backup is Scott James, who, if you remember, he did the Alex Wild backup story back in Savage Dragon 143, and then was it two issues ago he did that like spoof Hostess Pie?
I think that was last
page.
issue.
Was it last issue?
Yeah,
it was last issue.
Yeah. Yeah, so he's going to be drawing it, and he's got a great style that complements kind of like Erik's style really well. Kind of reminds me of like a Mark Englert kind of style too. Like it's definitely like in the Erik Larsen school.
It's fun. Yeah, it's definitely like it fits well in that Larsen universe, but it's got like a really great kind of an animated look to it. It's good.
Yeah. So, can't wait for that.
Sick. It's going to be fantastic. Going to be a barn burner.
Yeah, it's going to be I'm certainly looking forward to it.
What if it's a total letdown?
Then I guess I'll just cancel it. My subscription.
I don't think this story arc can be a letdown. I mean, it doesn't get any sweeter than Dragon in prison.
I agree.
Unless
and Dragon
All God,
facing Mako.
Unless All God turns up and like ruins it.
You guys think Mako dies in this issue?
I hope not.
I'm gonna say yes.
Odds are, I don't know. It can go either way.
It's gonna be Mako versus Dragon. It's gotta be like all out. I mean, these guys have been going back and forth now.
Yeah, but he got walloped by his kid. I kind of hope the what was it? Solicitation says Dragon faces Mako in jail for their most brutal battle ever. Maybe they fight back to back. Who knows?
No way. Yeah. No way.
They forged a friendship that lasts until Dragon dies.
I just want to see Mako taking like huge bites out of like Dragon, just totally ripping him apart. I just want to see I really want to see their most brutal battle yet.
Yeah,
and I want to see Mako go out with a bang. I have a feeling he might. I think Erik wants to kind of tie up all the old Dragon stuff and move on, like we saw with Animal and Bloop. Kind of now they're getting negated. I think there's going to be very few rogues gallery from Dragon moving on to quote unquote Malcolm's world.
I agree.
Right.
That's why I think I'm calling it now, Babe Ruth style. Mako goes down in the third round.
I'm gonna say he lives.
Okay. If you're
We'll
right,
see. I kind of hope you're right in a way because I like the character, but I also really want to see him kind of go down fighting.
I don't know.
If you're right,
I still think someday he may redeem himself.
Jim, if you were right, I will buy you a Papa John's gift certificate.
That would be super useful since there's no Papa John's anywhere near me.
Well, better ingredients, better pizza.
Fair enough.
Gift certificate for $1.
I didn't say the value right. Don't ruin it for
$1.
You can get some bread.
I actually. Well,
you can tip the guy.
Yeah, so a lot to look forward to in the next issue. I honestly can't wait.
It's gonna be excellent.
Both to see the fight and to see the format.
And
it
I
chooses
really,
to use.
I really want to also, for anybody, that's out here listening to Savage Dragon and whatever, I really hope that everybody takes this opportunity as this book is moving, in an exciting, like Malcolm-centric direction or whatever, really talk the book up. Tell everybody how good it's been and tell everybody that they're creating this jump-on point, because I think this is going to be your best bet in years to get this book in someone's hands and them actually give it a chance.
Totally agree. And I also want to know where you live, Jim, where there's no Papa John's. You like out in the backwoods?
Nope. There's nothing here in southeastern Connecticut. Well, I'm sure there's one somewhere, just nowhere's near me.
They are everywhere. We had them in West Virginia.
They have one where I used to live in upstate New York. We turned up.
Not that I ever go to them, but
right.
I thought they were like the Starbucks of pizza.
I've only eaten at one once, and that was like 12 years ago.
You aren't missing anything.
I love how I just
I've recently
hijacked
discovered
Raven's point.
Domino's.
Raven was trying. I'm not a fan of deep dish.
No?
No,
I like
cannot
it
do
thick.
deep dish pizza.
I like any kind of pizza is good. There's no such thing as a bad pizza. I'm a Ninja Turtle when it comes to pizzas.
Chicago, like deep dish? No, I can't do it. Anyway, I just hijacked. Raven was trying to be all sincere, telling people this is where you got to get on Savage Dragon, and then here I am. Dude, let's talk about Papa John some more.
Well, hey, takes a village to raise a child. Nah,
Lots of Papa Johns.
I think that definitely, Jim, you're not missing anything by not living near Papa John's. Listeners,
Nah, it's garbage.
yeah, it tastes like if you like fancy laxative all gussied up, but the end result's the same. Well, then enjoy Papa John's.
Anyway, I think we need to wrap this up.
I'm good.
I think we've lost all of our listeners now.
Echo. All right, everyone.
Well, that was a good episode. Enjoyed the
listening.
issue. Thank you.
Thanks for listening.
The Savage FINcast is a part of the Gutter Trash Network and the Image Addiction family of podcasts. It can be found at either fincast.guttertrash.net or imageaddiction.net.